So this is a video of my cold smoking technique that I've come up with just doing some research online using the soldering iron in a tin can in order to achieve lower temperatures to do a cold smoke. I like to smoke string cheese sometimes, cheddar every now and then, and would really like to get into doing bacon and things of that nature. But right now we've been running this thing for about, I would say about 2 hours. It's still rolling smoke really well. And I'll explain why it's not pushing. I mean, it's pushing out pretty good smoke, but it's not as much as it was earlier due to my modifications with the PID controller. Now, the PID controller, cheap one off eBay that was modified to use. Figured if it was cheap, broke eventually, then I could replace it really easily. And if anybody requested, I could do a video on how I constructed it. But the whole idea is to take the analog system out of the equation with the smoker to give me a little more control when doing ribs and other meat at higher temperatures. Now what I've done is I've taken the soldering iron and plugged it into my PID controller. And if you look, the temperature is actually set at 9 degrees Celsius. And right now it's running about 13 degrees Celsius, which is approximately, I want to say, around 55 degrees or a little bit above, or 55 or just a shade less, in that ballpark basically. And as you can see, our outdoor temperature is actually, closer to 42, 43 degrees, somewhere in that ballpark also. So where I think I'm getting my heat from is from my tin can underneath, which I'll show in a second, from my smoldering oak chunks that I kind of use just for this test run. I like to use like apple and peach and cherry and things of that nature, but I didn't want to use my better chunks to do a test run for this. But oak, I figured, was a hardwood and kind of give me a good baseline on how this is going to operate. So as you can see, I've got my probe for the PID. It's a K-type that is put in where the temperature gauge, the analog one, is usually installed. I've had it installed in there. This PID has been run for about a year, and I have not had any issues with it, and I'm very happy with it for as cheap as it is. So now, kind of to the bones of it, what I've done is I took away the drip pan, and I kind of wedged the tin can for my soldering iron directly under the hole for the drip pan. This way I didn't have to do any modifications to the actual smoker box. And I don't want to cut any holes in it if I can, just kind of leave it intact, so it lasts as long as possible. And not do, you see guys use the 4-inch ductwork and things like that, but I was trying to avoid that at all possible. Now I'm going to open the door and kind of show how much smoke we're getting out of this. It's been working very phenomenally. It's a lot of smoke, might be a little excessive, but it is what it is. And you can kind of see where my smoke is coming out, and of course, like any good smoker, it's just really dirty. What I use is like a can opener that kind of is not, more the modern style that has a lid on it. So it creates a lid in the can when you cut it open, and so to keep that intact. And I could probably, my hole might be just a little big that I put in the lid, so I could kind of choke out the smoke a little bit if I feel like I'm getting too much. But for the time being, I think it's working exceptionally well. Now if you watch the controller, I've got it set at 9 degrees Celsius, and if you watch it every now and then, what will happen is a green light kicks on. That's kind of loop break control. It's for more, automated systems where you could hook an alarm to, and it'll test the circuit every so many seconds to make sure that the circuit is still intact. So people that are doing some very, very technical stuff with temperature, if they get a break in the circuit, then they get an alarm that sets off to really help them. So what that really kind of does is keep that soldering iron just warm, and You can tell at this point my temperature is dropping, so I think my smoldering in the can is starting to snuff itself out, so to speak. And so what I can do is reset this and go just higher. I mean, it's unfortunately I might be able to move that probe down closer to this can of wood chips we got going on and modify it just a little bit to get a little more control, so I don't have to make it mostly automated. But wait a second here, you can see that it'll kick in and the green light's on it, and it's just going to heat up that soldering iron to the temperature it needs to be, and you know, just let it run completely. Just wait a second, it did another loop cycle there. And there it goes, it's kicking on, trying to, well, not quite yet. In the meantime, if you hear the fan running in the background, the wife likes that up there, just to kind of help keep the smoke going into the back door if I have to go in and out, and definitely make things better. If you notice, the temperature was dropping, my smoke has gone down. There now, the PID controller, oh, it's still cycling. Usually at this point it usually kicks in and keeps going, but you get the gist of it. I mean, if it's wanting to hit 15 degrees Celsius, then it'll kick in and run constantly. It'll run that soldering iron constantly, and we'll try to achieve that goal for that temperature. So then it'll give me more heat down there, get those wood chips really smoking. Now the great thing about that loop cycle is if you get a lot of smoke, you can kind of turn it on. You can see now I've got no smoke going on. Let that thing kick back in and it should work with itself the way it should. So that's it. That's my controller set up for cold smoking. If I get more videos when I actually do some really good runs with cheese or bacon or anything that you would, fish, love to do some salmon, things of that nature. As soon as I get those videos uploaded, we'll let you know. Thank you very much. Have a good day.